My name is Wycliffe Kibira, father of 5 boys, and Charles Dickens is my second born, and he's just done his class 8. So I'm a career security officer, even though currently out of work, that is in 2020. This boy Charles was born in the year 2006, August 10th, at Pumwani Hospital. I can't remember. At that time I was working somewhere in Thika, and the mother was taken to hospital. I was away, but was called that time that she's gotten a baby boy. So I had to ask for permission from my bosses to come and see him, because that time I was supposed to leave for Archer's Post. Tulikuwa naenda Kichaka. So that day I came, saw the boy, and we slept. Happy. But the following day, just before I left, I was rather curious that this boy, mtoto ametulia sana, hata haendi choo, hamjamuosha. And then, for some reason, the mother went to check on the boy, and that's when we realized that actually hajaenda choo, and there's a problem. So that very minute, we went back to Pumwani. I think it was on a Friday, 11th, and the guys refused to listen or even take the kid back, because we thought that now that he was delivered there, they would have either taken him to Kenyatta or told us what to do. Tulishtuka. So we took a matatu to Kenyatta, where we were told that the would be available doctor will be there like the following Tuesday. And the doctor, the attendant told us that that kid cannot survive for that period without relieving itself. So the next available option would be to go to a private hospital, of which they told us that according to them, there's a doctor at Gertrude's Children Muthaiga. So we should go check there before long, as the kid has been feeding but he has nowhere. So they were telling us that the kid will vomit and that it might end up choking itself. So we took a taxi to Gertrude's. We went through the formalities. They told us there's a doctor, but they need like 40K cash deposit before anything is done. So you have to call friends, run up and down, and when it was raised, later that night, it was around 6 when we got there. Around 1 a.m., the operation was started until morning, and he stayed there for like 11 days, accruing some handsome amount, which I had to pay through my nose, because that time I was in the forces, but the kid was not yet published with the government, so they could not take any action immediately. But then the 2 subsequent treatments were done through the insurance of the armed forces. That was in Memorial. They contracted Kenyatta, because Kenyatta are the ones who had the pediatric surgeon. We didn't have any at Memorial. So it has been a long journey, full of learning, because this was something new, and it put us in a very awkward situation, even within the family, because there were so many questions. We have the firstborn who is okay, and all of a sudden we have this. So there was like, some people would come in, where would this thing come from? They will tell you, people will tell you all manner of things when they don't understand. But within Memorial, we used to have those doctors. You could go privately. And the definite cause of this problem is not known, but it is there, and it happens to like 1 out of maybe 5,000 people or so. So it is something which is there. This is nothing to do with sorcery or anything or traditional whatever. It's a medical issue, and it is recognized. That's why it is called anorectal malformation. It is there. So after that was on the first operation was done when the boy was 2 days old. That was on 10th August 2006. The follow-up surgery, which they call it SAP, that is the making of the anus, was done on January 2007 at Kenyatta, but through Memorial. And it went well, and we could go to clinic every now and again. They were checking on it, inserting some apparatus to see if it is growing and would be suited for the purpose. Then on around 31st July 2008, also in Memorial, but in Kenyatta, they did what we call colostomy reversal, where now the colostomy, the rectum which was on the side, was now being married to the new anus. So it was at this point that when the kid left the theater and had been returned to the ward, the kid apparently stepped on the catheter just when the anesthesia was wearing off. So mtoto ni mtoto, yeah, I just kicked his legs, and that's how the problem started. Unfortunately, whether nothing could be done or what, the doctor was not there. He was called, it took 2 days to turn up. Mtoto alilia hiyo usiku, kumbe alikuwa anajisikia kukojoa lakini hakukuwa na njia. So in the morning, like, the mother realized that the bedding is wet. And then when the time came to pass stool, now we saw it was rather watery. Now that's when it was realized that these things are now mixing up. Now there was some little urine coming from the front, and the rest at the back. So at that point, around 2009, I left the forces and joined the private sector. And being a different development altogether, you no longer have that insurance, and the kid is not yet treated. But we had to follow up with the Memorial so that we get to know the doctor, where we can get him, and so we used to take the kid to him for so long. But now he could not give us something clear, what is supposed to be done, how to do it, and mainly because of the financial part of it, because even if he told you, apparently how will you pay for it? And it is very costly. So luckily enough, I landed a job with a company in Westlands, a hotel group, and that time I was still struggling. We were trying to get help from anywhere, so there were these free clinics, and there were some surgeons from abroad who were going to Kinangop, and it could be advertised. So I told the mother, Rauka, hata kama ujui huko, uende, maybe we can get some free help. So the mother went there the first time. Those guys said that, no, we don't have a paediatric surgeon with us. So when the second round came, the mother went again. They looked at the boy, the records, and they told us, no, this one cannot be done by us or in this manner. It needs specialized treatment. Now this is now like repair, like corrective surgery. We are going to correct something that has been done wrong or went wrong. So that's when we started realizing that, oh, so it's going to be heavy. Things are getting thick, and now the boy was also growing up. So eventually, with the last field trip, they went to Kinangop. came back to my MD because the doctor there who gave us that advice happened to be an Italian. And my MD that time in that hotel group was an Italian. So he told me it is going to be very costly. You need to look for money. So I had now to come out bila kuogopa. So I went to the MD one day and told him, this is the problem I have, and there's a doctor here. Doctor, so where is this doctor? I told him he's a volunteer from Italy, but he's in the country for a short while. So he gave the doctor a call. They talked, they're Italian. And that's when the doctor told us, okay, let's see what can be done. And he sent us to the Aga Khan hospital. So at the Aga Khan, we went with all the patriotic doctors there at that time. It was around 2012 into 2013. So the doctors we talked to were like, they would like to take him back a little bit, like to start afresh as they look for where the problem is. And when we looked back at the cost and we are starting afresh and the kid and we would want this thing to be over, we were a little bit reluctant. But also the MD who was now financing part of this was himself a doctor. And he could engage the doctors one-on-one. And at times he could break into insults because why would you want to take this kid back for money or what? This kid needs to get well. So that's when the doctor, the MD himself, thought of taking the kid out of the country. So South Africa was floated, Italy, his home country, and India. And on fact-finding, we found out that India is much cheaper. So he did assist us with some resources from friends, and the kid went to India in December 2013. It took 2 months there, came back in 2014 for what was described as definitive repair of recto-urethral fistula. So from the time he came back from India, he's never been to hospital, actually. Now, that which remains is just that dribbling. He still dribbles urine, especially when he's upright, when he's walking, when he laughs, coughs, and also the fact that his male organ has not been in use, regular use. For all that time, he was passing urine through both ends, and much of the urine actually was coming from the rear end instead of the front end. So his organ had not developed strongly, maybe the nerves and all that. So he currently needs a hormone injection for that, hormone evaluation and injection, and also to stop the urine leaking, which he has until now, and he's just done his class 8. So that's the problem he has. It has been a challenge to him because naturally he's a quiet boy. Now, what I've never known whether that is his trait or how the situation he found himself into, because he was like overprotected. See, we used to have curious relatives who would come asking funny questions, and kids don't forget. So it will take some time like this. This time a relative asked me if this was my kid, I would have done away with the kid a long time ago, and it's from a very close friend. So ever since, as a family, we decided to keep him away from anything unnecessary, maybe you are a relative or what. If my parents were there, it would be fine, but since both the grandparents are not there, No, akakuwa mtoto wa nyumba, and he's been that way. Apart from his siblings, or maybe those people who heard about it, but actually many people cannot tell the difference who amongst the boys has that problem, because they are ever together. And if it's clothed, you cannot know. It is only us and a few of his teachers. We went and talked to the school administration, his class teacher, to ensure that especially during break time, he gives him time to go and change his diapers, or latest is at lunchtime. So they used to give him some time either to go to the staff room where he could get privacy, because previously he could go to the toilet and other boys, and it turned out not very good, and even nearly refused to go back to that school. But eventually he used to ask question, why am I this way? So you see, at times you laugh it off and say, no, I'll explain to you later. But as he grew up, you have to tell him, you are this way, but you are going to be well. But he has not taken it very badly, I may say, because he's one guy who will tell that there's nothing I can do about it. So if there's nothing I can change about it, I just have to live with it. But we are very close, so I occasionally ask, how far have you gone with my treatment? Because I can't go to secondary this way. That one here. So even now, that's a conversation that we really take 2 days. How far have you gone? But I know failure is there, but I've not given up. And I've done everything I think I can. And I also hope that I know people have problems everywhere, but for the sake of this boy, I will not shy away from asking for help from anyone who would bother to listen and know that this boy would wish to grow like any other teenager, interact with his fellow teenagers, be naughty as any other teenager, so that you do other things when the age allows. But with him, it has made him to be a very reserved person, that I must say. Be it in school, how he does his things. He's always in the house. He doesn't want to go out that much, because he'll tell you today that, you see, urine smells. So I would not want somebody looking at me awkwardly. Actually, there are certain school trips we had to cancel. The rest of the kids went, but he couldn't, because of that inconvenience. And maybe later, around class 7, he did go, when he insisted, let me just go, because I also want to experience what other people are experiencing. But it takes a lot of time to convince, or to talk, or tell him what to do, call the teacher and tell him that now you will be doing this, you're now going to be the parent. And maybe he will tell you himself, because nowadays he talks. I can no longer carry him like a baby. The other day, there are certain tests, which most of the tests to do with that condition are very invasive. So you need to tell him the truth. I give him the phone, he will Google it up, and he tells you, okay, let's go do it, because I have to do it in order to get well. So we've been to many places with him, especially me, and now that is a boy. And at times it is difficult to explain to a kid certain things, but his spirit has been, he has to undergo this in order to get well. And I hope if he manages to go to India, it will be the end of this cycle. Okay, in India, the boy is supposed to undergo, first of all, there's a test that actually we were also thinking of doing locally first, to check the severity, called cystoscopy. That is putting a micro camera through. the urethra to see where they call it a constricture, where the problem is. He's undergone sonoplasty, X-rays, all those tests, and the sonar shows along the urethra there's an abnormality somewhere. So for this leakage to stop, now the doctor there might decide whether be it robotic surgery, but it has to be stopped so that the issue of pamper has to stop. It cannot go being secondary and still putting on pampers. The second thing is the hormone evaluation and treatment for the now an undergrown male organ that needs to be injected with an hormone to give it, encourage it to grow corresponding to his age, of which they say would be best in this teenage time. Now in India, everything, treatment is like 400,000, which is cheaper in comparison to, and also as an outpatient. In Kenya, you will not get that one as an outpatient. And accommodation, air ticket, around figure of $1 million bob will be able to cover everything, and also ensure that he's ready to come back and join Form 1, because now he has like maybe 2 months or so to join Form 1. And we also have to prepare for his Form 1 because he actually is a bright guy. And he hopes to join a national school. That has been his aim. And one of the things that have been encouraging him is that whatever he has undergone, he would wish to help other people in the future. So with him, he's thinking of being either a doctor or something like that. So in class, he has never disappointed. Personally, those who maybe know me well, I'm a media shy person. Be it maybe from the kind of work I did, or I'm never pro-media that much. Not that I hate the media, but I hate publicity. But for your kid, if you don't talk up, like I'm not a doctor, I've told you, I'm like a career security person. I can only reason and give advice on something to do with security. Now that which I don't know, I'll just have to go and ask. If it is something involving the hospital, I'll go to the hospital. But the worst mistake you'll ever make, and that will make things worse, is by you hiding such an issue. If it is something beyond your control, there are other people who can deal with it. You go looking for help. It has taken us 14 years to get where we are. That's 14 long years. If I take that one off my age, I would still be very, very young. So, but I've never given up. I have to juggle between the normal life, the other kids, even though most of the expenses now go to this one kid. But what doesn't kill you makes you strong. And it made me appreciate life even more. And the duration we've had this problem, we've gone to so many hospitals, met so many people, and people have problems. But just as you've said, I've realized that so many people shy away from telling it as it is. But that one has not solved the issue. So if anyone has a kid with any form of problem, condition, talk it out. Somebody will make it look light for you. Like to me, when we thought this was like the biggest case we are facing. But when we went to Gertrude's, that time we saw other kids having bigger problems. And even just from the look of it, you even get shivers. But our kid, if you clothe the kid, nobody would even know that is passing stool on his side. Only when you are changing the kid. Maybe if you see somebody gets astonished, but I think as a parent, you'd better do all that you can for your kid. because they are going to grow up in the future. What will you tell them? To those listening, to those watching, just like you, wherever you are, the way you would want your kid to grow up normally, I was blessed with this boy who has this condition, which luckily enough can be corrected, albeit with financial availability. If you can find it in your heart, you can squeeze something small just to put on his pay bill, so that by the end of the day, we can foot the bill for the boy. For me, I've lived my life, but now this is now a teenager. He's starting his life now. And it has really taken him back. So my appeal would be to get financial help, however little anyone. That which you chip in, we add to another person, will get us there. So that he goes to India. So many people have asked, why can't you do it locally? Those are some of the questions I've been asked. And from my experience, also in that field, we've come from far. Because if you can remember, I told we went to Kenyatta, and we were told that the doctor will be available the following Tuesday. Now there are so many, there may be many, but not very many, but it is very costly. Very, very costly. And also the fact that in India, we believe it will be the last attending doctor knows. He has his records, he knows what he did, he knows what he should do. And we've been in contact, and he thinks he can put a stop to this. Because actually, if we were able to go back in that 6-month window period he gave us, we would not be here today. But it's because of the finances, which we are appealing to people. If we can get the finances, the boy will live his own life and grow to be a healthy man, maybe have his own family in the future, and maybe realize his dreams of being a doctor too.